All right, hello everyone. So Diane, I have a good question about total surplus, right? So total surplus, I drew out this graph. I'm also going to go and put one up that I'm going to hand draw, and I'll put it up for you all. But I just wanted to make this video kind of to show you all graphically how it is done and how total surplus is found. It can also be called total welfare. I know that because I just looked at my notes here and it says total welfare. So basically you have the simple, I didn't put my supply and demand graph, or the supply and demand. So let me do that real quick. Supply and demand, whoops. Select this, move this in. There we go. So that's going to be supply. It is usually referred to as S for supply. There we go. So S for supply. Then we have our demand down here, obviously. Demand D is usually what it's abbreviated as. Move that in. I'm going to select it, move it closer to where it needs to be. All right. So now that we have our supply and our demand, there. Now that we have our supply and demand labeled, basically they'll go and give you numbers, and they'll say calculate out the consumer surplus, which the consumer surplus is this. So this area right here, obviously within the boundaries of this triangle. But I'm trying to work with what I got here. So it's all of this, all of that. That would be your consumer surplus, which I will little text box here and say consumer surplus, which can also be labeled as CS, but I'm not going to do that actually. Just because I don't want to confuse you all too much. So that, let me go and get one of these things. Erase. That wasn't exactly what I thought it was going to be. Let me just get a regular arrow. So that, my friends, let me change the color on that to like a red. Replace that. So that is consumer surplus right there. Okay. Then we'll have this area, which is south of it, which will be producer surplus. Again, you'll just calculate it out based off of the numbers that they give you. And then that will tell you what the producer surplus is. Basically, how my professors have always explained it to us is that this whole area, there's basically these, and I'll try to do it when I, actually here, I can kind of do it here. Why not? You can see my drawing skills and they're not that good. Basically, you have all of these little factories, right? Along this line, all the way down. Each one of these factories is selling its product or its service or whatever they're selling at a certain price. Okay? And sometimes the prices are very low, sometimes they're very high, but there's a certain point where each of these factories might actually not want to sell their products at a certain price. And they might say that it's too much of a burden to make it. But we'll just say in this case that it's a competition, right? So you have some, and this is, again, you'll have some factories that charge only a very low amount of price, which again, you'll have consumers up here who, let's choose green for them. So you have consumers up here, which are just little people, little stick figures. And I'm going to try to, the best of my ability, to go and create, yeah, that looks all right. So that's a little person. He wants to go and purchase the product. Let's say it's Bose headphones, right? He wants to purchase the Bose headphones for, say, 20 bucks. I don't know about any producers that would actually sell it for 20 bucks, but let's just say that figuratively there is a producer down here who is willing to sell this person Bose headphones for $20. They can go make that exchange. Same thing here. Let's say this producer is willing to sell their Bose headphones that they have, or a similar product. Let's just say that, actually, let's make it easy. Let's just say that this is the headphones market, or market for headphones. Or headphones. So this is the market for headphones. Okay. Let's select that and move it over a little bit. Actually, I wouldn't mind changing the color on that. Yeah. Click with that. Yeah. Actually, let's just do red. Okay, so anyways, to get back to my point here, basically you have consumers who are on the demand. They're demanding the product, so they're consumers, right? Everyone who's on the demand line is a consumer. They're demanding the product. Whereas on the supply line, you have producers. All these producers that are willing to sell their products for different prices. Okay, and we're in the market for headphones, not headphone. Headphones. There we go. So we're in the market for headphones. So that $20 doesn't necessarily have to go and be a Bose headphone. I think that was a little bit too specific. So instead, we can just say that it's a very cheap headphone. This person just needs a very cheap pair of headphones, so they end up buying this very cheap headphones. Let's say Bose are up here because I know they're expensive. So there is going to be somebody, right? There's going to be somebody, this little stick figure, that wants to go and buy a pair of Bose headphones and is okay with, paying 400 and some bucks for a pair of headphones. And that's basically what keeps these areas, the consumer surplus and the producer surplus, into these boundaries, because there's an equilibrium price. And that equilibrium price is basically the price at which the market says that it is equal, right? Or quantity equals demand, right? Or supply equals demand, excuse me. Supply equals demand at a certain quantity, right? This would be that quantity right here. And more specifically, this particular price in this instance that this person's willing to pay for this. Now, you can't go above and beyond. There's no other firms that's willing to go and sell their product, nor is there a consumer who's willing to buy said product past this equilibrium point. Now, as we will see, so again, I'm going to draw out all of these people that are on this line. I don't need to go and get too perfect with all of these. Just, here and there are people that want to buy a product, and there are, in this perfect competition market, firms that are willing to sell products. Looks like I've drawn one extra person, don't mind that. But anyways, just, get the whole knowledge point that there are consumers on this line, the demand line, that are demanding a product, in this case, headphones. And then there's producers here on this line, the supply line, that are willing to supply these consumers with headphones for a certain price, right? So each of these, in essence, if I would have basically had 6 on this and then 6 on that, I drew one more extra person. Don't mind that extra person. Each of these would have aligned with one of these firms. So each of these people would end up getting those headphones for the price that they want. Now let's say that there's a certain point where the producer or the consumer says, I'm either not willing to pay any more for this headphone, for a pair of headphones, I'm no longer willing to pay any more, then you'll go and get this line. And let me go and create a line. So you'll get this line. So, but before I go and get to that, actually, I'm going to go and help by explaining that, and actually formatting here with a, let's do this, and let's make this, purple. So this area, as you can already tell, it's going to be the producer surplus. I'm going to mark it so that way we can figure out total surplus, which was the question I was asked of me. So now let me go and get these. Like that one. Let's do green. Why not? Uh-oh. I've erased a text box that said producer. Surplus. Let's select that, move that over. But again, this is the producer surplus. Producer surplus, again, just like with consumer surplus, they'll give you a set of numbers and they'll say calculate it out. And then you'll calculate out the producer and consumer, and you'll be able to graphically show it on here. As in, this is the consumer, this is the producer, and then basically when they ask for total surplus, it's just the whole entire thing. So all of this. So both the orange shaded area and the purple shaded area. And I'll go through here and once I put this, there we go. So now I will use this over a little bit, this over a little bit, so that you guys can see producer surplus. I will make a text box that says total surplus. Now I'll probably change the color on. I'll probably make this like a trying to find something that's a little different that you can still see. We've already used red. We'll go with the dark green for this one probably. So total surplus. Let's select this and move it over. So total surplus. And actually here, I'll just give you guys the equation. Is equal to consumer surplus, and I will make this box a little bit bigger. Oops, I can. No. There we go. It's consumer surplus plus producer surplus. Right? So what we've already calculated out. So that's the whole entire area, which I can draw on here. So it's, like I said earlier, it's the orange area and this purple area combined is the total surplus. It's the consumer and the producer. This right here is the producer. This right here is the consumer. The total is just all of it together. But let's draw that out. I will change the color. We'll make it blue. And this whole area right here now, every single thing in this whole area. Right? All of that is total surplus. Okay? Total surplus is all of that. And I'll give you guys a nice, let's make the color pink on this one. Nice arrow, point to it. There we go. So again, just to review, they'll give you numbers to solve out for consumer surplus. They'll also give you numbers to solve out for total surplus. But if they break it down, they'll give you numbers to solve out for consumer surplus, which is this area, the orange that you see underneath. That orange area, which goes all the way down to the equilibrium point and up, that's consumer surplus. Producer surplus is the area below that, is this area from the equilibrium line down all the way on this side. And then what they'll say is they'll say, hey, can you go and please add up consumer surplus and producer surplus if they gave you both of them and they told you to please solve for it. So if they ask for total surplus, it'll be just these combined, or they'll give you the numbers explicitly and they'll say, oh, consumer surplus was, 200, producer surplus was 250, add them up and you get 450, right? Because 200 plus 250 is equal to 450, okay? Now, there is, and I'm not quite sure if this is going a little bit too far in depth, but there is a case where total surplus would also take into account this thing that we like to call deadweight loss. So to graphically say that, let's say that there's this point, which is what I was trying to get to earlier, where these consumers say, we're not going to pay any more for a pair of headphones. We believe that it's a ripoff, that you're going to charge us above, let's say, $250. There's the, the maximum that they can go and pay, or that the producers want for a pair of Bose headphones might be $450, right? Let's say that these consumers say, hey man, that's too expensive. I don't think that I should be paying. And let's say if there's nobody who has a willingness to pay $450 for a pair of headphones. They say, hey, I want to go and pay at most $250. Well, then the last area, right, that a producer would be able to sell their product for would be at $250 because that's what the consumer is has a willingness to pay for. Well, what happens to the rest of this area? This little triangle right here. This becomes deadweight loss. And again, you can calculate that out by doing a triangle because it is a triangle. So how we do it is we do half to the base times whatever the triangle formula is. Anyways, I was reading an email. I'm sorry about that. But here I'll tell you guys what the area of a triangle is. It's half. Yeah, it's what is it? 1/2 base times height, correct? Not mistaken. Yeah, 1/2 times base times height. So basically they'll give us those numbers and we'll be able to calculate out for the dead weight loss of this area, which is 1/2 base times height of the whole entire. So when we do that, we'll be able to go and get this area that's called dead weight loss, or DWL. And here I'm going to graphically mark it up. Why not? And we'll make it pink. So this area would then become dead weight loss because nobody's wanting to purchase these headphones. They think that they cost too much. So this dead. Let me go and change the color on this to how's that look? Now let's do light. Here, we'll just make it white or make it black. Excuse me. Dead weight loss. Okay, DW, which they might use if they use abbreviations. So, anyways, dead weight loss would be that area. We're going to get this. No, why are you doing that? What made you do that? So dead weight loss would be that area right there. That would be your dead. Nope, I want to do that. It's that. Select. That would be your dead weight loss. There we go. That's probably as best as we're going to get it. Not this one. Let's move that. Just get some things out of the area. Sorry, man, you're covered up. Anyway, so you get the dead weight loss. Now, what happens to total surplus, though? Well, total surplus would now only include this area, everything except for the dead weight loss, because dead weight loss was lost. It, there was no sale that was ever made, so you can't include that in surplus. You just can't. So, because it wasn't, there was no sale, there was no transaction that was made, because these people right here said, I'm not going to pay any more than $250. And then you had producers that were like, oh, well, mine costs $450 and I'm not willing to budge down. So now you have dead weight loss, right? So that dead weight loss is just product that wasn't able to go and be sold. So since it wasn't able to go and be sold, it can't be included into the total surplus. So you would have to subtract dead weight loss, or DWL, from the consumer surplus and the producer surplus. So you'd still add up consumer surplus and producer surplus. You just take out this area, which you'd have to calculate out for a triangle, 1/2 base times width, or excuse me, 1/2 base times height, to go and get that area of that triangle. Let's see if I can go on. It's not going to allow me to. So I will just move it in a bit. So there you go. That's the total surplus. Anyways, a little bit. So again, like I said, I will graph out one by hand. I've already kind of started on one of everything that we talked about here. I'll probably make it the market for headphones too, just to make it easy. But just to debrief, make sure everybody understands, consumer surplus is this area right here. It's above the equilibrium, and on this side of the, and on the this side of the demand curve, right? So it includes everything in between that, everything above the equilibrium, and on this side of the demand curve. Producer surplus is the exact opposite. It is everything below the equilibrium, all the way on this side of this supply curve. So that would be your producer surplus. Total surplus in a perfectly competitive market would be this whole entire area. Why? Because every consumer, right, would be able to bond up with a producer, and each one of them is willing to pay for a product that a producer sells. So even the person here is willing to pay $450 for these Bose headphones. They believe that they will go and get enough benefits out of those headphones that it's worth $450. Now, like I said, there is cases where, and I'm not sure if you guys are going to be actually tested on this, but there are cases where a consumer may say, hey, I am no longer willing to pay more than $250 for a pair of headphones. I think that's a ripoff. The producers then say, I don't, basically understand. I have to sell these at $450, otherwise I'm going to incur a big loss. So they're not willing to move their price down to $250. The consumer's not willing to raise their willingness to pay any further beyond $250. So there's this area that gets created called deadweight loss, and then that has to go on, and that would be mainly in not necessarily monopolies. It can be oligopolies, can be monopolistically competitive markets, which is kind of like what we have here, because each of the headphone producers, I would say, doesn't offer the same exact product, to where it, you would have a perfectly competitive, where it would be like Apple's or something like that, where everybody's selling the same type of Apple, right? There's nothing, unique or different about this type of Apple compared to this type of Apple. So you have an equilibrium that is pretty easy to follow along with, right? In this case, with the headphones, we probably do, in fact, have a case where somebody's going to say, hey, I don't believe that it should cost $450 for a pair of headphones. There's not much difference between this brand Bose and this really cheap brand that is, only costing $110, or in this case, $250, because I made that number up. So then they go, oh, well, I'm gonna buy these $250 headphones, and I'm not gonna buy from Bose. Well, now because Bose is no one to sell to, no one with a willingness to pay, right? Like I've been saying, the deadweight loss is created, and they'll go and give you the numbers, and they'll say calculate what deadweight loss if they ask you for it, and it's 1/2 base times height for the area of a triangle. And then you, for total surplus, if they ever ask you for that, for the most part, again, like I said, it's going to be just consumer surplus plus producer surplus. But in the instance where they have a deadweight loss included, you would have to subtract out. You'd have to take out that area of deadweight loss, because that area of deadweight loss was not a part of the actual surplus that was made. None of those products were sold. So I hope that made a good enough amount of sense to everyone. If it doesn't, I have office hours. You can go and come on over to my office hours. Here, I'll show you. I'll share my screen. I'll show you guys it again. I also have some notes that I was going through. This one is not the one that had it. Here, actually, I'll show you guys which one had it. Now, her example is a little bit different. This is my professor, so her example didn't go into as much detail as mine did, which is kind of why I wanted to show you guys it. But she does have some good definitions for consumer surplus, and producer surplus in here. So yeah, consumer surplus is the sum of marginal consumers' willingness to pay minus the price paid. So the actual price that was paid. And then producer surplus is the sum of the marginal producer's variable profit, meaning their revenues minus costs. So how much it actually costs them to make in our case, the headphones versus the revenue that they actually gained, which again is why, like right here, where you would have a deadweight loss, right, would be this area, because the consumer is only willing to pay at most $75, right? At most. Whereas the producer, it appears, is going to go and be losing out on about $25 because it costs them probably $100 to make. So in instance right here, right, this would be where the consumers, right, have no more willingness to pay for a pair of headphones, in our case. And as a result, no other transactions along this line are able to be made to any of these producers who are willing to sell their products for these prices. Okay, so, and then when you have a deadweight loss, which is right here, deadweight loss, that's not good. I'll tell you why it's not good. It's not good because that's lost revenue, and that basically has gone down in the drain and is no longer salvageable, to say the least. So you don't want deadweight loss, but when deadweight loss occurs, that's why you have to take it out of your total surplus. Anyways, I can link, along with my Zoom video that I'm creating right now, I can link hers where she explained it to our class, and she kind of explained it in similar terms to how I explained it with our whiteboard, right? So with share whiteboard. So kind of like how I explained it here. She'll explain it in the same exact way. Or again, like I said, you guys can stop by my office hours if you have any other questions. And my office hours. So I have office hours today. I have office hours tomorrow. Today, I have one at 3:30, which is in about 10 minutes if you guys want to come. 5:30, 6, 6:37, all the way down till 9, Saturday. And then I know that there are some people that were having troubles getting to the next week. If you just go up here to the little arrow and click it, will take you to the next week. And I actually have my office hours opened up for a full 7-day period. So you can book me anytime, as long as it's within a 7-day period. You can come over here and you can be like, oh, can Professor Nick's available at 7 p.m. here, right? Let's say that works for you on a Sunday. You can go and click it, and then it'll take you to, for any of you that haven't done this, it'll take you to this. You have to put in your first name, you don't have to put in your last name, and then an email address. That way the confirmation can be sent to you. Click that I'm not a robot, and then confirm your booking, and then it will send me an email saying, hey, so-and-so has scheduled a meeting with me for office hours. It will also send you a notification that it has been confirmed. If for any reason I have to go and cancel it or anything like that, I'll just cancel it through the thing, and it'll actually send you an email saying, hey, this meeting time didn't work out for whatever reason. So can you either reschedule to a different time, or basically that's it. I mean, reschedule to a different time, or we can make something else work outside of these. But anyways, if you need any extra help with econ, with total surplus, consumer surplus, producer surplus, deadweight loss, really anything, to deal with monopolies, monopolistic competition, oligopolies, trying to find GDP, solving for that, GNP, any of those things, I can try my best to go and help you out. Again, like I said in class, I am only a minor, so I didn't have to do all of the courses within the econ major. But I definitely, as a minor, I know some people that are very smart in econ because they did major in it and whatnot. And I can also see if Professor Walters, who she actually has a page that's like this. Now, obviously, we would come first as being her students, but you can always go to her one, and you can ask her questions about econ as well. I know that Mr. Kenyon also is a good resource because he was an econ major and he teaches it. So you have many options available to you. And I would love to see your guys' scores in econ go up. So I'm here to help. Just make sure to go and shoot me a message through here. It's automatic, and just schedule a time. Or you can always contact me via my cell phone number, which pretty much all of you have. And if you don't, or gotten an email from me or anything like that, I actually have my phone number on the email signatures. And you can also shoot me an email as well. More than willing to go and find some time to help you all out if, for example, these times right here don't work for you. All right, so with that, I am going to end this video and send it out to you all, and I hope that you all were able to go and get a better understanding for total surplus, consumer surplus, producer surplus, and deadweight loss as a result. All right, thank you all. Bye-bye.